Healers in Dandyfield can provide a ton of help to the longevity of a team, but to be able to properly do that, it is important to know how to help your team by properly using your healing. There are currently 3 healers in the game, that being Sprout, Cosmo, and Ginger. I probably don't have to bring this up, but just in case, I'm not covering Bassie because while she can give healing items, she's a lot more than a healer, and Tegan heals herself, so she doesn't count either. Going back into the topic after covering some of these basics of being a healer, I will split the video into 2 parts, one for Cosmo and Ginger since they work very similarly, and the other for Sprout. As a healer, it is your goal to keep the team alive, but it is important to know that your heals are valuable, especially early on. Don't just heal anyone because they're gonna get hurt. First of all, you should have an abundance of heals to be healing anyone on 2 hearts, and if someone is going to be getting hurt a lot early on, they may not be worth wasting a heal on since it can easily be lost. You also need to see if healing a team member is worth it if you have a lower amount of heals to give. Extractors are usually plentiful in lobbies, so they won't be a huge priority since they're less of a necessity to a team, while a sector should always be healed on at least 1 heart with the exception of Louis. Make sure you ask them if they want to be on 1 or 2 hearts before healing. Do not heal Louis while in the middle of distracting unless you are asked for it. Splitting off into specific toons, I will cover Cosmo and Ginger here, starting with their trinkets. I'll do Ginger's first because Cosmo has something a little more odd with it that will be easier to explain with an example. Pretty much just use some combination of the top 3 trinkets. Pink Bow helps since she does have slow movement speed, but is less necessary with her high stealth and not being at 1 star like Connie. Then Mag just makes machines go quicker and is easy to use with her 3-star skill check. And if you're gonna not focus on machines as much, Vimo could also work as a healer. Either those work with Pink Bow, or if you want to full extraction, you can use both. Then there are the trinkets you can use well, but just aren't great choices. Participation Ward is just less necessary because she does play a supporting role, so Mag and Vimo work fine. Speedy Shoes can be a backup Pink Bow, but that's not really needed, especially with her stealth and longer range. Similarly, Clown Horn and Ribbon Spool because they go together when it's better to just use Pink Bow for Ginger. Then trinkets that have very little use on Ginger are Dandy Flash, to be able to get medkits and band-aids for cheaper, but it's only really good for those. Saver Charm isn't great either, but since you want to be on 1 heart as her at times, it can help if mistakes are made. Then she's slow, so Vanity Mirror can help, but there isn't really a good reason to use on her. I guess I should say that Fancy Purse isn't worth it on her because that's 1 medkit. Just use Dandy Flash, which is still not all that great because of how luck dependent it is. And Dog Flash is bad in a slow tune like her. Really, just stick this up to trinkets. Cosmo, on the other hand, I ranked a little bit differently. Top tier has Pink Bow because survival, and Remote because weaker extraction so we can provide help and get easy tapes for the shop. Those are pretty simple and do work well though. However, 3 of 5 pretty good trinkets can be used very well as well. It's just hard to put them at the top for reasons. I can't really put a Mag at the top on a 1-star skill check dude. A lot of people, myself included, struggle with it alone, but it's possible. Then My Makeup and Thinking Up are not amazing since you can just get good usually, but especially with Mag, it can help as extraction speed, and with My Makeup can help practice. Obviously, there's still things you could get good at, so they could be at the top, but since it's 1-star skill check, I wanted to make note of it. The other 2 here are Clown Horn and Ribbon Spool just because they help with survival, aren't really necessary for him though. Then in Barely Useful, Dandy Plush and Saver Charm are the same reasons Ginger. Blue Bandana and Machine Manual aren't great ways to speed him up, but can help a little bit. Participation Ward is usually worse than the Magnifying Glass, so unless you're really good, it's not gonna be great. Then with Speedy Shoes, you don't really need that small boost, but like it technically isn't useless because it does help with survival, even if it's weak. Fancy Purse is low for the same reason as Ginger, and I want to say Vanity Mirror doesn't get the same immediate survival worth because of it only working during panic mode. And that covers the trinkets for these 2. So Cosmo and Ginger are similar, so what is the same about them and what is different? Well, with stats, they both have 4-star stealth. Cosmo has 4-star stamina as well, but 1-star skill check, while Ginger's only other altered stat is movement speed going down to 2 stars. Then, with their abilities, they both function the same way, giving 1 of your hearts to a selected teammate. However, Cosmo's cooldown is 60 seconds while Ginger's is 100, but it has a much longer range, being the longest ability range in the game. Your choice of which to use comes down on if you prefer Cosmo's shorter cooldown and better speed, or Ginger's better extraction and long range. However, they do have plenty of similarities on how they are played as well. For both of them, you want to be wandering around to look for any healing items for yourself, especially medkits, as well as grabbing some tapes or items to waste for tapes. Don't make getting tapes priority, but it is good to do, especially if you don't have any toons that use tapes in a run like Sprout, Tegan, or Blot. You also don't need all of the tapes and items, you really just want to use them to buy any bands or medkits that Dandy may sell, which isn't even guaranteed in the first place. For similar reasons, make sure you're using your Vimo if you have it equipped, and try to do machines, especially if you are a Ginger who doesn't have bad capabilities on machines. Also keep note of people's health when wandering around, since neither of them have a passive to see hearts from anywhere like Sprout. Also take the time to assess everyone's health while in the elevator to decide if you should heal them. On the topic of heals, I do want to say, you don't have to take a band as Ginger or Cosmo if there are other low people. Sure, in a public run it may be better so that it doesn't get stolen, but they are less necessary to have unless the team is healthy when you obtain it. On the other hand, I think medkits should always be Ginger or Cosmo because it can be spread to 2 hearts healed on 2 different tunes. Another thing with bands is that it's good for the distracted to get one in case they do get hurt. They can heal back up when they do need it, instead of having to wait for a healer. However, with these two, you may end up not getting a ton of heals since they aren't constantly stacking up, unlike Sprout, so it is extra important to use your heals properly. I already stated this, but just don't heal anyone just because they got hurt, especially if it's earlier on. Each heart is valuable and needs to be used properly. Distractors should be a priority since they are the ones keeping the team alive. If someone with the same or lower stealth gets hurt due to not paying attention to where they're going, it's not worth healing them because they're likely to do it again and waste your heals. Then, with other tunes, just see how helpful they are to the team. A fast extractor is gonna usually be worth healing more than someone who doesn't provide as much to the team. Adding someone like a Shelly is a good example of a healing priority. She's not only a fast extractor, but can also help others extract faster using her active ability. Tisha, Yada also can heal with good extraction and support capabilities with their abilities. V is also high up since she's a good extractor, as will Glisten, Connie, or Chi-Chi, all being good at completing floors, but can't provide as much support to other team members. Supports in general could also count here like Bassie, Blot, Sprout, and Coco, but they have high survivability, so you shouldn't need to often. Then at the bottom would be survivalist tunes like Scraps or Toodles, who have weaker extraction and can't provide much support to the team. Tegan as well, since she can heal herself with tapes, so you usually don't need to be wasting healing of your heart on her. Also take note of if the players actually should be healed and not just their tunes. If someone is getting hurt on early floors, then they usually shouldn't be healed since it's likely for them to get hurt soon after, and then there's no real reason to heal. You also need to be ready to be on 1 heart at times, because you should be healing the team, so make sure you are careful even with their high stealth, since getting hurt, even if it just once, can kill you at times, and if you're not at 1, then that was a heart that could have gone to helping another member of your team. That's the similarities between playing the 2 of them, but what about the differences? Well, they should both be played similarly still, but with Cosmo, spend more time running around to get items and tapes since he has 4-star stamina and isn't slow like Ginger, so you're able to grab things before other players are able to. You also don't have the high range, so while Ginger can't see hearts from far away, she can still use her ability, which allows her to be less mobile with her lower speed. However, if you're going to be less mobile as Ginger, then put her stronger extraction abilities to use in dormer machines than you would as Cosmo, since that will also get you plenty of tapes to spend in the shop. Not that you shouldn't be roaming around at all, but just to a lesser degree than Cosmo should due to her lower movement speed. Before moving on to Sprout, there is a couple of miscellaneous things I want to bring up that I didn't really fit at all. If you have a Bassie, they can not only run around to get bands and medkits for you, but they can also hold on to any if you don't have space or want some survival items, since even with their higher stealth, Ginger is still slow and Cosmo can't outwalk anything, so while it's not needed, if you would prefer that, you're able to do that with a Bassie in a team. And if there's a Sprout, you can always heal trade, so you can give them a heart and then they heal you back, so that they go back up to full health without causing you to still have health to share. Moving on to Sprout, we are back to trinkets, and similar to Ginger, I would say you usually want to stick to some combination of the trinkets at the top tier. The top trinkets are also pretty similar to Ginger's with Vmote and Magnifying Glass for extracting. Vmote should pretty much always be used on him, because that gets you an easy 10 tapes each floor, and since he's fast, you can do better machines, that's before half the machines are completed usually. You definitely can use Mag and Dog Clutch together, especially if you don't have Vmote yet, but if you do have it, then I'd say you should be using it on him. Then Magnifying Glass I can suggest here with his 2-star skill check, even if it's a little bit difficult to hit at times, it isn't really all that bad to use alone on. And it's good at him, so you can do machines for tapes at quicker speeds. Then with Dog Clutch it allows Sprout to outwalk a majority of the Twisted with his 4-star movement speed. This can both help with survival in a way, even with his 5-star stamina, as well as allow him to be a backup distractor when it is necessary. It can also let him move faster for getting tapes, but that is a huge change. Then moving down into your participation award can work, but since he's so slow and has low skill check, just mag works fine, and then you can use him better like Vmote. Pink Bow is always good since it increases run speed, but on a 4-star movement speed tune, it isn't all that necessary, and his 5-star stamina, he can run away fine without it. And it doesn't allow outwalking unlike Dog Clutch. Clownhorn and Ravenspool are here for similar reasons. You don't really need the run speed that desperately on him, and you get the same walk speed on all floors with just Dog Clutch allowing another trinket slot to be used. Speedy Shoes can all out better at walking with Dog Push, but Sprout's ability makes him not be a great main distractor, so usually isn't worth having over V-mode. Same goes for Scrapbook, but it lowers stealth, which is good for a 3-star stealth main distractor, but again, he isn't the best main distractor. Blue Bandana could work if you are bad at hitting the skill checks, although it isn't gonna help much. Extraction Manual does speed him up at extracting as well, but not by a lot. Bone and Feather Duster both will give either speed or stamina when picking up items, which really doing a lot, so while that's not great, it can make tip collecting a little more efficient. Then Crambox, Popback, and Megaphone all give items if you have open space, which can be used for getting more tapes, but they also aren't great since you could just get all the items above ground instead. Then, the only bad trinkets I want to discuss are Fancy Purse and Coin Purse. Tapes are not that hard to get. It's not worth wasting a trinket slot on one heal when it could help you get multiple. And Coin Purse just sucks anyways because it's 30 tapes, which is basically nothing. So don't use either of these since you shouldn't be healing a lot early on anyway, so you are able to have enough tapes when necessary. And that is it for trinkets, so let's move on to how to actually play Sprout. It is quite simple really. Run around and grab items. If you have a Vima, then make sure you use it, but other than that, you want to spend floors running around, grabbing common items, as well as the tapes on the floor to get as many as you possibly can. You should be doing this for the entirety of most early floors, since if you are a backup distractor, you won't be needed until later on, and if you're planning on extracting more, then you should wait until more machines need to be completed and the team gets smaller. So you can grab all the items first, then work at machines. Or if you have a lot of tapes, you could put less of a priority on getting everything, as long as you're still taking everything you walk past. Sprout is honestly pretty simple when you look at the bigger picture, since you just need to get tapes and heal when necessary. Though do as I said before, don't heal early on and put a priority on certain team members. Although Sprout can get a huge amount of tapes, so his heals may not always be as valuable as, say, Cosmo's or Ginger's. This doesn't mean you should waste them though, as you don't want to be out of heals when someone really needs it. One nice thing about Sprout though is that you don't have to keep as much track of people's health. Unlike the other two, since his passive allows them to see if a Toon is at 1 heart, full health, or 2 hearts for non-mains. That way, if someone got to 1 heart, you can go find them easily to heal them. Just make sure you pay attention to it, so you get some good use out of his passive. That is all for healers. The big thing to keep in mind is just be conservative with your heals, and then rest of you should play them is pretty simple. Either wander around grabbing items or extract depending on your playstyle, and Sprout, you throw him back extracting if you want. So with this knowledge, you could keep your team alive to the best of your ability. And if you want, you could always subscribe if you like this video since you watched it this far. And I also have other places you can find me in the description if you would like to do that.